Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Anthony Joshua has released a statement, video statement. Everything's done by video. Everything's filmed now. Nothing's ever written. Just sort of post-fight, post Dubois. And he's saying a lot of what I suppose, in fact, nearly all of what I suppose you would say. He said, we created history. Thank you for coming on my journey, the ups and the downs. Look at what we've done for British boxing, and you know what? It's not over. He confirmed. Now there's plenty more to come from me. Much love to all of you, and all that sort of stuff. I'm paraphrasing, but you know what I mean. Now, one thing that he did say was that we'll take the positives from this. We're always positive. He began by saying, "We're always positive. We'll take the positives from this." So I'm thinking. I mean, a lot of positives you can take from this, Anthony. Come on, mate. I suppose clearly he showed a great deal of courage, and he proved that he's a fighting man. People who say he's a manufactured fighter, no. You get into in that ring with that pressure on you in front of 96,000 people, with literally tens of millions of people watching at home. You've got to, even though you're blown out the water, clearly. I mean, it would have been less one-sided if someone had put a landmine in the middle of the ring and he'd trodden on it. But he showed courage, and he kept getting up. And here's the thing, and Eddie Hearn said this in an interview with Boxing News, actually. He said he didn't stop trying to win. And that's a very, very good point. Because you can talk about the foolishness of meeting fire with fire, or trying to get that, not holding and all this sort of stuff. I mean, like I said before, anything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. If someone had said to Joshua, "I want you to go out there and I want you to deliberately do everything wrong, absolutely everything wrong," he couldn't have done a better job of it. He was awful, just terrible. And Dubois was very, very good. And of course, you put two guys at the opposite ends of the scale together, there's only one winner. But Joshua did not stop trying to win. And no quitting the man. He's got a mediocre chin, to put it, I'll be generous to say mediocre chin. I don't think he's completely chinny, because he wouldn't have got up. Daniel Dubois hits like a bloody truck, like a freight train coming towards you. So he kept getting up, which is, I suppose, it shows that he's at least got some semblance of ability to not soak up a punishment, but he wouldn't be knocked. A guy who's completely chinny, when faced with Daniel Dubois' power, would be knocked out and completely concussed instantly, to the point where they're away with the fairies, playing a harp on a cloud or something, God forbid. Joshua's not quite that bad. It's a sort of 5 out of 10 chin, really. But his recuperative powers are absolutely appalling. They always have been, to be honest with you. So I suppose you can take away the courage thing, and you can take away the fact that he didn't quit. And if you really want to squeeze the rag to its maximum, I suppose you could say he did sting Dubois just before he got knocked out. And perhaps you could even argue that the irony is the desire to win, when he was clearly, perhaps only 30%, 40% maybe conscious, that desire to win, to jump in and try and, further hurt Dubois, was what got him caught. It was his technique that was shocking. I mean, leaving enormous gaps in his defence. His defence, Joshua's, was like Dubois was against Hrgovic. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see any of it coming, to be honest, but, that's why we love the sport, So, very few positives to take from that performance. Perhaps now that he's been flattened and everyone, because a lot of the casuals, a vast glut of casual people, think that if you lose a fight, you're shite. And you are always shite. Unless you're perfect, you're shite. Never mind all the wins you've had, you lose a fight, you're shite. All right? Doesn't work like that, of course. Life doesn't work like that. There are people who are brilliant, almost geniuses. There are people who are absolutely appalling, have no talent, and most of us are somewhere in the middle, or somewhere on that spectrum. Okay, and Joshua is I'd say well above average overall, but he had an absolutely shocking day at the office on the biggest stage of all. But is he as bad as that? I said this in a previous video. Is he as bad as he looked? I think probably not. I think the biggest hurdle that he will face is overcoming that, the psychology of it, the effect, the mental effects of being so dreadfully splattered all over that ring. I think that's going to be very, very difficult to come back from. But maybe at 34, nearly 35. I think he's 35 next month, someone told me, but I don't know whether that's accurate. But he's certainly closer to his 35th birthday than he was to his 34th, if you know on his birthday. Nevertheless, he can, if he wanted to rebuild, or if he wanted to have another rematch with Dubois, I wouldn't go there personally. Maybe he can knock over a few B- fighters, do a bit of a rebuild job, and he'll certainly, like I said before in another of my videos, he will get work. He's a big name. Everyone will want a piece of him now. If Eddie said to Frank Warren, put Moses Atama in with him, I dare you, Frank would be, yeah, all right, thank you very much. There are so many, if you go down the top 10, there are so many fighters that you would pick over Joshua at the moment. But that means the pressure's off, in one sense. If Joshua can say, okay, you think I'm finished, I've got something for you. That's what fighters do, especially ones that get knocked flat. I mean, Lennox Lewis against Rockman, I know it was a one-punch knockout. He knows he made a mistake. He was doing well, not great, but well enough in that fight until he got stupid and walked in the front door with his hands down and got belted. Nevertheless, he had to regardless of whether that was a one-punch knockout or not, he had to overcome the psychological barrier of being knocked flat by a guy, and we know what happened in the rematch. These things, they can be navigated around. But Dubois against Joshua again, I only see one winner, to be honest with you. And it ain't AJ. Eddie Hearn was asked in the Boxing News interview, he was asked about the rematch thing, and he said, well, that's one option. I kind of got the impression reading between the lines that he's not going that. He's going to suggest they don't go down that avenue. And don't forget, Joshua is his own boss. He makes the final decisions, as Hearn's always want to telling us. He mentioned other people. The interviewer asked, he mentioned various names and said, what about this person? What about that person? Atama was mentioned, actually, and Hearn said, no, it's too early in his career and we don't have anything to gain from fighting Atama. Joseph Parker was mentioned. Yeah. Joe Joyce was mentioned. Deontay Wilder was mentioned, coming off the back of his own shattering knockout. But again, Joshua will sell. He's a ticket seller, and they're all going to want a bit of him now. All of them. So the positivity in this video that Joshua showed, I suppose we should ask ourselves, was it sincere or was it just a front? I got the impression, I think it's sincere, but like I said, if you suffer a defeat like that, you've got to do some serious work on the old grey matter before you get back in the ring. I don't know what the situation is with Joshua and sports psychologists, and I know Carl Froch, after he had that, he really got out of jail in that first Groves fight, stopped way too early, but he had the shit beaten out of him by Groves for most of that fight. He hired a sports psychologist, got back into it, and we know what happened in the rematch. Maybe they can work on Joshua that way, but I don't know. If he wants to stay absolutely in the top echelon of the heavyweight division, he's got to rematch Dubois and beat him again. Otherwise, it's snakes and ladders. He's gone all the way down at the start. He's got to start building up again. And I don't really think he's got the time for that at the age he is. But you never know. You never know. I mean, Wilder fought, was winning until he was, 38, or 37. Zhang is 40. Usyk himself is he 38, 39? I don't know what he is. He's late 30s. Heavyweights do have a longer shelf life chronologically. But when you consider the knockout to Ruiz, then there's this thing. 24 rounds with Usyk, which weren't pretty. He did well, well enough. And with the benefit of hindsight, Usyk is an incredible talent. But the miles of racket getting racked up on the clock for AJ. So there's that to consider as well. But the positivity, I did like the positivity in the video. I think it's probably sincere, but when it comes to the crunch, and I've always been a show me guy. You know, like, okay, you think you're great, show me this, show me that, show me the other. Even a great fighter, someone like, say, Katie Taylor, I wasn't impressed with her as a pro until, well, probably right up to the Serrano fight, to be honest. You know, and then she really showed me something. I'm like, okay, now I get it. Now I get it. But anyway, what do you think? Comments below. What do you think about the whole situation? I know I've made several videos about Joshua and Dubois, indeed, you know, but this is such a fascinating time. It's such a great time for especially the heavyweights in boxing, because they're all getting beaten. Fury was beaten. Joshua. Dubois was knocked out 13 months ago by Usyk. I mean, Usyk's the only man standing. He's the last man standing. He is, without shadow of a doubt, the heavyweight champion. Not a belt holder, not a titleist. He's the heavyweight champion. Anderson lost to Bacoli. Bacoli's already got a loss in his record. You know, they're all losing. That's good. That's what we want. We want to see a round robin of fights in which, you know, person A beats person B beats person C, but person A loses to person C. We want to see that because it's exciting. We like getting things wrong. Getting things wrong is a good thing because it means it's the unexpected, which is a big part of any dramatic scenario. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Comments below. As usual, subscribe, hit the like button. Thank you for all your time in watching these videos. Bit pointless me making it if no one watches, isn't it? But thank you. Bye for now.